Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Firefighters have warned urgent action must be taken to train frontline crews working in Tasmania's rugged wilderness. It comes after internal documents revealed all of the fire service's remote area teams have been grounded following safety concerns, a problem the union warns is putting communities at risk.
A united front, crews pleading for an overhaul of remote firefighting capabilities. The union saying all remote operations were suspended last month due to safety fears.
The fire season's only 8 to 10 weeks away, and without that resource, the Tasmanian community is at risk.
Concerns identified around training of officers, evacuation procedures, equipment and risk assessment.
We'll work through those issues. We're always going to make sure that safety comes first. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to get through the last fire season with 0 losses of life.
It comes after an investigation into the summer fires called for more specialised crews, also saying mistakes were made. 6 months on, bushland in the Huon is regenerating, but for locals it will take much longer to forget the trauma.
The smoke was thick. You'd wake up in the morning and you couldn't see 2 foot in front of yourself down there. I was at home for 3.5 weeks because I couldn't get to work.
The summer bushfires impacted small towns right across the state, including here at Geeston, where the community is still thankful for the efforts of firefighters from right across Tasmania.
I think they did an extraordinary job, to be quite honest with you. I mean, because we were told the first Friday that basically we have no town on a Saturday morning.
Fantastic job. Yeah, couldn't speak highly enough. Everything I could see it all around the area, and it just went on and on and on. And so that was, I guess, it got emotionally tiring for a lot of people. The threat was constantly there.
The investigation making 9 recommendations, the government accepting them all in principle. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
Wildlife authorities have wrapped up an investigation into 3 unrelated whale deaths on Tasmania's east coast. It's understood a Cuvier-beaked whale found dead at Clifton Beach on Sunday had been struck by a ship.
Yes, it's a sad thing and something that we like to raise awareness of, and I guess it highlights the dangers that vessels can pose to these animals.
A pilot whale found at Bruny Island on the weekend was found to have died due to pregnancy-related complications, while a juvenile humpback whale at Shooten Island last month was discovered emaciated. Wild weather is wreaking havoc across much of southeast Australia, with gale-force winds, trees battering cars and roofs flying off due to a chaotic low-pressure system. Weary travellers were forced to wait for hours for takeoff in Tasmania, while the Weather Bureau is warning the worst for our state is yet to come.
A rocky flight into Melbourne Airport as gusty winds from a wild weather system take control. The mayhem affecting hundreds of Tasmanian travellers.
It's delayed, half an hour at the moment.
I'm not really sure what's going on. Hopefully I get there today.
Flights to and from Melbourne and Sydney affected. Many waiting around, facing cancelled flights or extensive delays. Some forced to rebook.
I was still booking the ticket while I was on my way to the airport with my fingers and toes crossed.
It's really mucked me up.
The weather system causing the flight chaos here, coming with tragic circumstances interstate. A tree falling on a family's car in Victoria, killing a woman while a man and 2 children remain in hospital.
Our thoughts certainly go out to the family that were involved in that very serious incident.
Frankston Pier snapped in half with wind gusts of 95 kilometres per hour, sending debris flying. The wild weather hitting New South Wales too, ripping off a nursing home roof in Newcastle. South Australia has been pummeled with strong winds and heavy rainfall, plunging parts of the state into blackout.
That system is something we would expect to occur about once every 5 years at this time of the year. So quite significant.
Similar conditions expected here in Tasmania as a low pressure system sits off our east coast, bringing the possibility of gale force winds, flooding and snow down to 500 metres.
Things can change quickly. So we'll certainly be monitoring this very closely tonight and tomorrow, and we urge everybody to stay up to date with the latest warnings.
The southeast of the state hasn't seen a large amount of rainfall since February. Authorities are now reminding all road users to take extra care over the coming days, with roads becoming more slippery from rain after a dry period. And if you're hoping this was the last of it this winter, think again.
So we'll get a few more cold spells to come still.
Louise Hedger, 7 Tasmania News.
Lawyers and families are calling on the federal government to include mild cerebral palsy under the National Disability Insurance Scheme. There's been broad praise for the scheme, but some services say people are slipping through the cracks.
Emma Barnett is an expert at overcoming obstacles. The 9-year-old lives with very mild cerebral palsy and is a regular at St Giles.
I get to do lots of fun things. Sometimes it's hard, but it all makes it fun.
She's lucky to be receiving help. Emma isn't covered under the NDIS. Fortunately, her family are able to pay for her visits, but they're speaking out for those who struggle.
Yeah, you sort of see leaps and bounds that these kids make ahead with just small interventions, and to miss out on that is I think it's just so wrong.
The Law Council of Australia says the problem lies with the definition of mild cases. Tasmania's Law Society boss and St Giles patron has raised his concerns.
Young children with cerebral palsy, if they receive assistance at that early stage, they receive that intervention at that early stage, it can prevent a young child from becoming a young person in a wheelchair. Surely that speaks for itself.
Some past clients still on the books are not eligible for the NDIS now.
We're concerned that those people may potentially miss out.
The National Disability Insurance Agency says access is based on a person's impairment, meaning no condition is automatically included or excluded. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
The Tasmanian basketball community has been left reeling, with the Southern Huskies making the shock decision to withdraw from both the New Zealand NBL and Australian NBL 1 competitions today. Our sports reporter Tom Cooper joins us now. Good evening, Tom. How has this happened?
Good evening, Joe. Well, according to the Southern Huskies, it's due to a falling out with Basketball Tasmania, but there is certainly a lot more to the story than that. Now, as you mentioned, the club has withdrawn from the NBL 1 and the New Zealand NBL just 1 year into its 5-year licence agreement with that league. Now, in a statement today, the Huskies said they believe their relationship with the state's peak basketball organisation is untenable, but didn't really delve into any more detail and wouldn't give any further comment on the decision. Now, according to Basketball Tasmania, they recently had discussions with the Huskies about the club's sustainability into the future, but didn't get the answers that they were looking for. Let's have a listen.
It showed that the business case was unsustainable. To be travelling to New Zealand, to be travelling and paying for teams to come to Tasmania to play. Even in New Zealand, when our team was on the road, there's significant travel and costs involved with all that. The business case didn't stack up there, I don't believe.
Now, Basketball Tasmania is adamant Hobart will still have representation in both the men's and women's Australian NBL 1 competition next season and beyond, and is now working towards making that happen. It's also understood that the Huskies still owe money to several parties, including players, coaches, venues and even the leagues they competed in. But according to the franchise, arrangements will be made with all remaining creditors to be paid. Back to you, Joe.
OK, thank you very much for that, Tom. Tom Cooper with that report there. After a turbulent year of negotiations, public sector union members have voted in favour of a 12-month agreement proposed by the state government. The CPSU says industrial action is currently off the table, while a long-term agreement is discussed.
To get the agreements into the Industrial Commission, have them ratified, get the wages increase paid to our members, but over the next week we would anticipate those next rounds of negotiations to commence.
The offer includes a 2.1% pay increase and a sign-on bonus, plus backdated pay. A group of Tasmanian farmers is preparing for another hay run to help drought-stricken producers in New South Wales. Yolla farmer Brett Neal is leading the charge after seeing the dire situation crippling regional communities.
Potato grower Brett Neal may be hundreds of kilometres away from drought-stricken towns, but he's ready to lend a hand. He travelled to Toowoomba last year, where he saw firsthand the devastating impacts of the big dry.
I said to my wife when we were going over there, I said, these people need a bit of a hand somewhere if they can get something. They're really struggling.
Large sections of New South Wales and Queensland are in the midst of the worst drought in a century, and the situation isn't getting any better.
They haven't received a lot of rain. They're struggling pretty well.
Brett's preparing to embark on an interstate hay run with a group of local farmers later this month.
The organisation and the group are out scouting around looking for as much hay as we can to take on the hay run.
The drive's part of the Lions Club's Need for Feed Disaster Relief Initiative. This is the second hay run Brett has organised to help fellow farmers on the mainland. He's hoping residents get behind the cause and donate generously.
They're all in need of a lot of things, so pretty much anything to get us there. Any farmers that feel, it doesn't have to be big quantities, even if it's only, 5 bales, from a number of farmers will get us what we need.
If you'd like to help, head to the Need for Feed website. Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmanian News.
The formation of a treaty between Tasmania's Aboriginal communities and the state is being put to the people. Talks happening in Hobart and Launceston today, aiming to create an agreement.
An opportunity to negotiate as equals about how we should deal with challenges and socio-economic problems that the Aboriginal community faces.
The event coincides with International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples. Now to a story that's as painful as having your teeth pulled out. Private health research has shown more than half of Tasmanians aged between 25 and 34 haven't been to the dentist for a year. The Royal Flying Doctor Service says it's seen more than 2,000 patients for dental care over the past 2 years.
So the average is 11 treatments per mouth. So it's a significant amount of oral disease we're dealing with.
The service has recently expanded its free dental programs onto King and Flinders Island. The wonders of science are being shown off at Tasmania's Festival of Bright Ideas. National Science Week kicking off with a bang as students from across the state experienced eye-opening experiments, stunts and fun.
A daring stunt show demonstrating science in action, introducing Tasmanian students to a week of science-based activities.
We perform Stranger Than Fiction. It's a science stunt show. We do the craziest stunts in the world and present them with real scientific fact.
The first day of the Festival of Bright Ideas kicking off at Princess Wharf 1, the launch event of National Science Week in Tasmania.
Today is the student study. On the Saturday it is open to the public, and it's a way of all our science community coming together in the one venue to create a festival environment and really engage people in an joyful way of science.
Organisers trying to capture the imagination of the next generation, bringing them face to face with science, research and technology.
It's a great opportunity to explore different parts of science and open their minds to different careers.
The Festival of Bright Ideas is open to the public tomorrow. Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmanian News.
Back home to the TSL, and it's set to be a scrappy old affair at KG5 tomorrow, with showers and bitterly cold temperatures predicted. And with finals just around the corner, the Tigers and Pies will be out with big points to prove.
A wet weather game can be anyone's for the taking, but the Tigers' track record in 2019 speaks for itself.
We played North Lonnie in Antarctica, down at the Twins. It was raining, it was windy, it was really windy, and it rained during last week's game. So, we think, we've played good footy in those conditions.
I think our guys go in expecting combative football, and the weather this week means it's definitely going to be that.
Coming off the bye following 2 wins on the trot, the injury-depleted Pies are keen to head into September with a full head of steam, but won't be taking anything for granted tomorrow, despite a dominant record against the Kingborough boys.
I got asked the other day if it was a danger game. It's like, no, the Tigers are beyond that now. They've shown, last year they knocked off Lonnie. This year they've knocked off North Lonnie. They're a team that's really competitive.
And a win over a heavily favoured Glenorchy outfit could be just what the Tigers need if they're to shake things up against the powerhouse clubs come finals.
If we can sneak a couple more, it's not like, you know, that discussion, oh, you're the best of the rest, you know, you've snuck in finals, you don't deserve it. Like, you know, we're going to finish 5th, we know that, but we deserve to finish 5th because we've won the games that we've had to win.
The opening bounce is at 2 p.m. at KG5.
The cream of the crop from Tasmania's private schools footy ovals will battle it out tomorrow in Melbourne. The Sports Association of Tasmanian Independent Schools put together for the team for the grammar schools of Victoria Winter Carnival. Hopes were flying high, but past lessons haven't been ignored.
So in previous years we've been very competitive up until about 3/4 time, so we're taking a lot of confidence in from that. And in the 4th quarter in previous years it's sort of blown out a little bit.
They'll play at Wesley College tomorrow. Tasmanian soccer fans will get a taste of A-League action with the Central Coast Mariners locked in to play 2 pre-season trial matches in Hobart. The Mariners will take on a Tasmanian state team made up of the NPL's best local talent at Darcy Street on September 8, followed by a clash with South Hobart at Kingston's Lightwood Park on September 10.
Optimally, the preference would be to have our own A-League team in an A-League competition, and that's what we're continually working towards, you know, to get that up and running. But in the meantime, we have to take steps along the way.
I just think everything's rolling nicely, and it's up to us to keep pushing harder with government and with you know, the independent A-League now, and to stake our claim for a future team.
The Mariners players will also take part in 2 junior community football events across their 4-day visit.
11 degrees today in Hobart. Launceston had the state's top with 14 degrees and 13 degrees in Burnie and Devonport. 13 also at Cressy and St Helens, 12 for Low Head, Campania and Bushy Park, 11 degrees at Scottsdale, Sheffield, Smithton, Fingal and Grove, with 10 degrees the top for King Island. A band of cloud wraps around a deep to the southeast of the state. Skies are clearer through the north with low convective activity for the remainder. Low cloud covers the southern part of the continent and adjacent southern waters, with a low pressure centre visible over Tasmania and also just off Australia. Convective cloud through the northeast but mostly clear elsewhere. Tomorrow a cold front will push into southern Queensland with a deep low to the east of Tasmania heading north, and a strong high will move slowly east to the south of WA, extending a ridge across Australia. South to southwesterly winds 20 to 30 knots, reaching up to 35 for most waters, with seas between 2 and 4 metres. There's a gale warning for almost all coastal waters, a strong wind warning for the Banks Strait, Franklin Sound and remaining southeast inshore areas, a small craft wind alert for the Central Lakes. There's a minor flood warning for the Huon River, a flood watch for the Huon, Derwent and southeast catchments, and a warning to sheep graziers across the northwest, the Midlands, the east, the southeast and King Island. And finally, there's a road weather alert for slippery roads through the Midlands, the East Coast, the Upper Derwent Valley and the southeast, with a bushwalkers weather alert for warning of snow for the western districts. Onto the forecast: rain in the south tomorrow, 10 in Hobart, 7 for Medina and Oatlands, 12 in Launceston with morning showers, 13 for Devonport, Lyowini 1 degree, 11 for Burnie, 9 at Strawn, 10 degrees for Marrawar with showers and rain throughout, with showers through the east also, 12 at St Helens, 11 for Swansea and 10 degrees at Orford. Sunday brings showers from most areas, lighter throughout northern parts, showers about the west and the far south on Monday, with showers about the west and the far south again on Tuesday. Around Australia tomorrow, 20 degrees in Perth, 13 for Adelaide with some showers, 11 in Melbourne, 17 the top for Sydney with 8 degrees and showers for Canberra and 23 in Brisbane. And a bit of rain this evening in Hobart, 7 degrees and 8 and a few clouds for Launceston. A clear night, 8 degrees in Devonport. That's all from me, Jo. Have a lovely weekend.
That's all from the team for now. Thanks for your company. We'll see you with updates throughout the evening. Bye for now.